You ever notice how people love to push your buttons? It's like a game to them. They poke, they prod, they test you, just waiting for you to break, to snap, to lose control. And when you do, that's when they win. But what if you didn't give them that satisfaction? What if you just stayed silent? Oh, silence. Silence is a funny thing. It makes people uncomfortable. It makes them wonder. It makes them fear. And that is where the real power is. You see, the moment you react, you hand them the keys to your kingdom. The moment you show emotion, they own you. They know what makes you tick, what makes you weak, what makes you break. So why give it to them? I've seen it. The way the world works. People don't care about you. No. They care about what you can do for them, how you make them feel, and if they can get a reaction out of you. So here's the trick. The little secret they don't want you to know. You starve them of your reaction, and they starve to death. Think about it. When a bully doesn't get a rise out of you, they get bored. When a manipulator can't make you dance, they move on. When a liar sees you don't care, they crumble under the weight of their own deceit. That's the power of silence, the power of indifference, the power of knowing that the second you stop playing their game, they lose. But oh, I hear you. But I have to defend myself. I can't just let them get away with it. Ah, my dear friend, who said you were letting them get away with anything? You see, silence, true silence, isn't weakness. It's a weapon, a sword sharper than any words you could ever say. Because when you refuse to react, they react. And suddenly, the tables turn. Suddenly, they're the ones who feel exposed, vulnerable. They wanted a show, but you shut off the lights. They wanted your pain, but you smiled instead. They wanted your rage, but you just walked away. And that drives them insane. Oh, I knew you'd like this. You feel it, don't you? That pull in your chest? That fire in your veins? You're remembering now. Remembering all the times they tested you, played with you like a toy, waited for you to break. And maybe, just maybe, you did break. But that was then. This is now. And now, you understand. You ever notice how people only respect the ones they can't figure out? The ones who don't beg, don't plead, don't explain. The ones who don't fall into the trap of proving themselves. Because the moment you prove yourself to someone, you admit that their opinion matters, that they have power over you. And oh, they love that. They love knowing they can make you talk, make you explain, make you justify yourself like some little puppet on a string. But tell me, what happens when the puppet cuts the strings? What happens when you just don't respond? That's when they panic. That's when the air gets tight, the sweat starts dripping, the nerves kick in, because suddenly they're faced with something terrifying, a version of you they can't control. And people, they hate what they can't control. You see, they live for your reactions, your tears, your anger, your frustration. It's all fuel for them. You've been feeding them this whole time without even realizing it. But what happens when you stop feeding the fire? It dies. They die. Not physically. No. That would be too easy. But inside, where it really hurts, they rot. They crumble. Because they needed you to react to exist. They needed you to dance for them. They needed your pain, your words, your energy, your life. And without it, they're just nothing. They've been playing you, haven't they? All this time, they've been pushing your buttons, pulling your strings, watching you, just to see how you'd react. They needed it. They thrived on it, because without your reaction, they're nothing. But now you see it. You see how predictable they are, how desperate, how weak. And you're waking up. You ever wonder why the strongest people in the world don't talk much? Why they don't explain themselves, don't justify, don't even flinch when someone tries to provoke them? It's because they understand one thing most people never will. Reacting is submission. When you react, you confirm that they have power over you. You confirm that their words, their actions, their opinion matters. And that's exactly what they want. Because the moment you care, you become their toy. But the moment you stop, the second you go cold, that's when the fun begins. Because now the tables turn. Now they are the ones looking for your reaction, searching, begging, wondering. Why aren't you mad? Why aren't you upset? Why aren't you breaking? And it eats them alive. Because when you refuse to react, they're left with nothing but their own reflection. And trust me, my friend, most people are terrified of what they see in the mirror. You want to break them? You want to make them feel the way they made you feel? It's simple. You give them nothing. No anger, no sadness, no frustration, no pain, no words, just silence. Because silence is louder than any scream. Silence is the knife that cuts deeper than any insult. Silence is the shadow in their mind that never leaves. And the best part? You don't have to do a damn thing. They destroy themselves. Because when you don't react, when you walk away, you steal their oxygen. You suffocate them in their own irrelevance. And that is where the real power is. You feel that, don't you? That shift inside you. That realization crawling into your bones, whispering the truth you've ignored for too long. You were never weak. You were just trained to believe you were. They made you think you had to react, had to prove yourself, had to fight their battles, play their games, dance their little circus act, just to be seen, just to be heard. But now you know better. And knowing is the most dangerous weapon of them all. Because now they can't use you. Think back. Think of all the times you gave them your energy, your anger, your pain. Did it change anything? Did it make them stop? Or did it feed them? Did it make them stronger? They thrived on your reactions. They wanted you to yell, to cry, to prove something that never needed proving. Because the moment you fought back, that's when they knew they had you. But when you don't react, when you just stare, when you laugh, my dear listener, that is when they shatter. Because they don't expect it. They expect you to need their validation, to chase their approval, to beg for understanding. But when you don't, when you just don't care, that's when they lose their minds. Because suddenly, they're the ones screaming into the void. They're the ones left standing in the silence, drowning in it. You see, people fear what they don't understand, and nothing is more terrifying than a person they can't control. You ever notice how they label you cold when you stop explaining yourself? How they call you arrogant when you stop chasing their approval? How they suddenly act like you're the villain just because you refuse to be their puppet? It's not because you're wrong. It's because they can't figure you out. And that haunts them. Because if they don't control your emotions, they don't control you. And that is their worst nightmare. You're still here. That tells me something. It tells me you're feeling this, that every word, it's sinking in. Because deep down, you know it's true. They've been feeding off you, living off your emotions like parasites, like leeches, sinking their teeth into your mind, your energy, your sanity. And the worst part? You let them. Not because you were weak. No. Because you cared. Because you thought, for some ridiculous reason, that if you just explained yourself, if you just tried harder, if you just gave them what they wanted, they'd finally, what? Respect you? Understand you? Love you? You fool. That was never the plan. They never wanted to understand you. They never cared about your side of the story. They only wanted one thing, control. And they got it. Every time you reacted, every time you snapped, every time you gave them the satisfaction of knowing they could pull your strings. And oh, how they loved it, how they needed it, because without your reaction, they are nothing. You see, some people don't want peace. They don't want solutions. They don't want truth. They want drama. They want chaos. They want a show. And every time you respond, every time you argue, cry, yell, you give them the performance they were hoping for. But what happens when the curtain closes? What happens when you refuse to play your part? They panic. They unravel. Because suddenly, they don't have a role anymore. And people hate feeling irrelevant. They hate being ignored. They need you to react. They live for it. So tell me, what happens when you just smile? When you just walk away? When you let them choke on their own silence? Oh, my friend, that's when the real fun begins. Because now, they're the ones losing control. Now they're the ones questioning everything. Why aren't you angry? Why aren't you crying? Why aren't you breaking? And when they realize they don't have power over you anymore, that's when they self-destruct. Because without you to feed on, they have to sit alone with the one person they've been running from this entire time, themselves. Heh, you're starting to see it, aren't you? The game, the one you've been playing without even knowing it, the one they tricked you into. Because that's all it ever was. A game. A sick, twisted game where they pull the strings and you dance. And oh, how they love to watch you dance. Your anger, your tears, your frustration. All of it? Entertainment. A show. And you've been the star performer. But here's the thing about a performance. It only works if the audience cares. And the moment you stop, the moment you walk off that stage, the lights go out, the crowd disappears, and suddenly, they're left standing alone in the dark. You see, people like this, the ones who poke and prod, the ones who push you just to get a reaction, they are empty. They have nothing inside, no depth, no substance, no real power. Their only strength? It's you, your attention, your emotions, your energy. Without it, they don't exist. And that's what they're terrified of. Because they need you to care. They need you to play the game. But what happens when you just don't? What happens when you stare them dead in the eyes and give them nothing? No rage, no sadness, no explanation. Just silence. You feel it now, don't you? That shift, that power crawling into your bones. Because now you understand. Now you see them for what they really are. Weak, pathetic, desperate. Every word, every action, nothing but a performance, a plea, a cry for control over you. And you fed them. You gave them everything they needed to survive. Your anger, your frustration, your need to be understood. But now you've starved them. And oh, how they suffer without your energy. They'll try to provoke you, try to sink their claws in one last time. One last chance to pull you back into their little game. They'll whisper, they'll poke, they'll test you. But you won't flinch. Because now, you are the monster they never wanted to create. Not a beast of rage, not a creature of fire and fury. No. You are something far worse. You are untouchable. And the thing about untouchable people, they terrify the weak. Because when you don't react, when you don't scream, don't cry, don't break, you force them to sit in the one place they fear the most, their own mind. And trust me, my friend, most people are not strong enough to survive themselves. So let them talk, let them laugh, let them think they've won, because the second you stop caring, they lose. Every single time. Their power dies the second you stay silent. Show them no reaction.